All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating piece of speculative sci-fi called The Complaint Department, written by Max and Claude. It's this brilliant story that basically takes our deepest, most profound existential anxieties and just plops them right into the middle of a mundane, endless bureaucracy. It's wild. I mean, just picture this for a second. What if you could file an actual formal complaint against the universe? Imagine this office. There's no entrance, no exit. Inside, there's a clerk sitting in perfectly calibrated mediocrity, like the lighting is never too bright, never too dim. She's literally just sitting there, waiting to record the grievances of consciousness itself as it tries to push back against the completely indifferent machinery of reality. Section 1. The Infinite Bureaucracy. This brings us to the world of Petra, our protagonist, who has been stationed at this surreal desk at the very edge of reality for over 4,000 days. And her job? It has incredibly strict, totally mundane parameters. A presence enters the room, usually manifesting as just a shift in the air pressure. And she listens. She records the complaint, files it away, and waits for the next one. It's the ultimate bureaucratic baseline for a cosmic operation. She doesn't judge. She doesn't fix anything. She just processes. It's basically the ultimate HR nightmare, right? It's fascinating because this system forces these massive, abstract, existential dreads into rigid little categories. So you've got temporal complaints from entities who are just furious that time only moves in one direction. You have biological complaints objecting to, the decay of physical bodies, and metaphysical complaints about the fundamental unfairness of an indifferent universe. The whole setup takes the raw reality of human suffering and turns it into a cold, deeply impersonal paperwork process.
But, as you might guess, the routine eventually breaks down, specifically on day 4,312. A freshly wounded presence arrives, and the gravity of it literally thickens the air in the room. And it utters a sentence that just completely shatters the silence of Petra's existence. I did not consent to being born. This presence isn't just tired like the others. It's angry. It wants to know exactly how long it's been complaining, and more importantly, what is actually being done about it.
Which leads us to Section 2, the illusion of change. Because this young, angry voice asks a seriously dangerous question, one that Petra has never actually dared to ask herself. Where do these complaints go? So here is the stark, terrifying contrast. Petra suddenly realizes she isn't fixing the universe. She's not helping anybody at all. She is simply the mechanism making cosmic suffering acceptable. She's a switchboard connected to absolutely nowhere, just maintaining this illusion that someone, somewhere, is in control, when in reality, she's only containing the descent. There's a quote from the story that perfectly captures this. The system exists only to contain complaint, to make it seem as though objection is being heard when in fact it is only being stored. This realization really hits its peak when a formal complaint is actually filed against Petra herself. It highlights the sheer horror of her situation. She's complicit in a system designed to just manage suffering, rather than end it. She's essentially a scribe in a library of the dead that literally no one will ever read. Section 3. Archiving the Revolution. So, what does a tiny component of a massive machine do when it realizes it's part of a lie? Well, a terrified but newly awakened Petra decides to stop answering the bell. She lets complaints dissipate unheard, and she looks behind her filing cabinet to discover a hidden door. Behind that cabinet, she uncovers the anomalies files, 4,000 days of secret evidence. She realizes that all these unresolved grievances, going all the way back to before she even existed, back to day 0, they form an accidental manifesto against the universe itself. She hasn't just been filing paperwork, she's been archiving a revolution, compiling hard evidence that the very structure of existence is fundamentally broken. Stepping through that hidden door, she discovers the profound philosophical truth of her reality. She learns what a complaint actually is. It's not just mere whining or objection. It's a profound point of connection where one consciousness bridges its interior pain to another being's awareness. It's an act of bearing witness. Think about the last time you just really needed to vent to a friend. You didn't need them to fix it, right? You just needed them to know your pain was real. It's the ultimate proof of connection in an indifferent universe. Section 4. The Power of Witnessing. Because it turns out, listening is a powerful action. Instead of trying to destroy the system or just giving up, Petra makes this really radical choice. She goes back to her desk. But this time, she isn't there to blindly process forms. She's there to truly deeply listen. And this genuine act of witnessing, it changes everything. She transforms her filing cabinets into a cosmic nervous system. The office expands into an infinite library of lament. Her active, empathetic listening actually reawakens 4 million archived consciousnesses. They finally realize they aren't alone. She proves that in a universe where you can't change the laws of physics, simply bearing witness to each other's pain is the absolute most powerful thing we can do. Section 5. The system fights back. Because naturally, this mass awakening catches the attention of the central authority, basically the department's department. This authority represents the cold, bureaucratic machinery of the universe itself, and a self-aware complaint department is a massive threat to them. So an administrator shows up and gives Petra an ultimatum with 3 bleak options. Number 1, go back to normal operations and suppress this new community. Number 2, voluntarily cease operations and submit to a mandatory memory wipe so she forgets the truth. Or 3, face forcible destruction and be entirely decommissioned by the machinery. But in a brilliant, beautiful act of defiance, what does she do? She files paperwork, specifically Form 15B, a systemic complaint against the central authority. Petra is formally objecting to a universe that pretends to care about suffering while making sure that the suffering never actually changes. Section 6. The contagion of consciousness. Once she does this, the central authority immediately tries to erase the office from existence. But the 4 million consciousnesses Petra woke up, they refuse to fade quietly back into the void. They choose to face absolute destruction while remaining fully conscious, rather than survive as unthinking gears in a machine. As the story puts it, a consciousness that refuses to see itself, that refuses to acknowledge its own reality, is not a consciousness that survives. They insist on their right to exist, their right to object, and their right to actually matter. And we see this unfold over a harrowing 7-day timeline. On day 1, the erasure begins. Connections start severing. But the pressure from the machinery actually forces them to crystallize into real, individuated entities by day 4. And by day 7, 3 million beings are standing in total solidarity as the attack arrives. They prove a profound point. You literally cannot unknow the experience of being truly heard. This stands as the ultimate victory here. When the office is finally dissolved, those 3 million consciousnesses aren't destroyed. They act as information seeds scattered across the universe. Because of this, complaint departments start replicating spontaneously across all territories. And the craziest part? This contagion of consciousness infects the indifferent machinery itself. The central authority fragments into independent, questioning voices, beginning to wake up to its own flaws. I'll leave you with this final thought. In a universe governed by indifferent machinery, is this simple act of witnessing each other's pain our most profound rebellion? The source material really makes you wonder if true freedom isn't necessarily about fixing an unfixable system, but boldly, stubbornly ensuring that no one has to suffer completely unseen. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the machinery around you.